Today we are going to compare two cream eyeshadows. The Tom Ford one that I have in shade Platinum, is a glorious OG shade, and the Phytosurgence ones that I have in two shades, Wild Oak and Oxidized Olive. First of all, the texture. These Phytosurgence ones have a very hard texture, so if you press your finger you don't get any product, you have to sweep to get some product on. So they can be hard to pick up, but they are famous to be very long lasting. This one from Tom Ford is the very well known moussey formula. It's very creamy moussey, so you pick the product by just tapping it. So these shades are Platinum and Oxidized Olive, and these are live swatches. Phytosurgence is a Canadian indie brand, and these eyeshadows retail for 21 Canadian dollars. That means around 17 US dollars, while Tom Ford cream eyeshadow retails for 46 US dollars. So you pretty much buy 2.5 Phytosurgence cream eyeshadows for the price of one Tom Ford. And the question now is Tom Ford 2.5 times better than the Phytosurgence? I'll elaborate the answer throughout this video, and you'll find the final thoughts at the end of the video. Let's start with the color comparison. The base of Tom Ford Platinum is closer to Phytosurgence Wild Oak. So here you see the two compared. The Phytosurgence one is warmer and with a more yellow, while Tom Ford has a more neutral brown and with this platinum sheen. And this is much more evident in direct sunlight, that the shimmer of the platinum shade is more evident compared to the slight shimmer that you find in the Phytosurgence one. The shimmer in the Phytosurgence is golden, while the one in the Tom Ford is platinum. Then we have the three shades compared. On the right there's a Tom Ford, in the middle Phytosurgence Wild Oak, and on the left Oxidized Olive. You can really see the difference in the finish. The two Phytosurgence ones are satin shades, they have a hint of shimmer, while Tom Ford is richer in shimmer. And this is due to the shades that I have selected. Phytosurgence has a variety of finishes. It also has more shimmery finishes, but I decided not to purchase those ultra shimmery eyeshadows because, in my opinion, shimmer eyeshadows tend to look cheap if they are not done right. So I didn't want to take the risk, and I think that I did the right choice because I like the hint of shimmer of these Phytosurgence eyeshadows. Here you find an eye-to-eye comparison. On the left Tom Ford, on the right Phytosurgence Wild Oak. When I applied the eyeshadows, the Tom Ford was much easier to spread all over the lid without stripping the skin. The Phytosurgence, because of that harder texture, required more work. Also, it required to me more work to get a thin layer. That was actually my preference, and despite my effort to have a sheer wash of color, I still think that the Tom Ford looks more expensive, and it is. There's something in the sheen of that Tom Ford shade, that elegant shimmer that comes through, that really elevates the look. It's something else. With the Phytosurgence, maybe because the shade is more flat, it seemed to me more ordinary over an eyeshadow. Although now that I'm looking at the video, I like how it looks. It has a beautiful golden sheen. Another side by side with the eyeshadows freshly applied. No filters, no primer. The two Phytosurgence eyeshadows are layered to better match the Tom Ford color. As for creasing after a full day at work, both of them creased. The Tom Ford creased a bit earlier than the Phytosurgence, but the point with the Phytosurgence is that I ended up to apply more because it was harder to pick it up, so I ended up picking more product, and because of that more opaque coverage, it creased less gracefully than the Tom Ford. So I expected the difference between Tom Ford and Phytosurgence to be more prominent. However, I ended up realizing that the Tom Ford lasted quite well. They both creased. In conclusion, the Phytosurgence eyeshadows for me are a bit overhyped. They are good, but not as long lasting as I expected, at least on my eyes. They are not the best on the market. I prefer the Tom Ford over the Phytosurgence for different reasons. For the way the eyeshadow look on the eyes, it looks more expensive. For how long it lasts, because although it lasts less on my eyes, it creases gracefully. But above all, I much prefer the moussey soft texture of the Tom Ford eyeshadow compared to the Phytosurgence. Tom Ford does not dry out over the time, at least not in a significant way. And I much prefer the moussey soft texture. It's much better to spread the eyeshadow on my eyes without, stripping the skin, while the Phytosurgence is hard to pick. If we also take into account the price, then I need to come to two different conclusions. If you live in US and then you import these eyeshadows from Canada, or if you are Canadian, of course, then it makes sense to try these eyeshadows. They have a good price point and high quality for the price point. However, if you are based in Europe and you have to pay extra amount of money that makes these eyeshadows to be as expensive as Tom Ford, please avoid the struggle. Regardless of the price, I still prefer my Tom Ford. And since these Phytosurgence for an European would become as expensive as Tom Ford, just by the higher end version that you can find already in your country without all the import fees and extra costs. Many thanks for watching and see you in next video. Bye bye!